The first thing I want to point out, and one of the reasons why I'm excited about the MLS consumer website, is because it brings the realtor back to the forefront of the transaction. This consumer website was built by MarketLinks, who is our vendor for ML Exchange and the wireless service. That's also what is brought to you by the 13 shareholder associations of the board for the mfrmls. After the PowerPoint, I'm going to give you a short demo of the website, but for those of you who have not yet seen it, this is what the home page looks like. Now, I don't want to bore many of you about system architecture, but I do want to cover a couple of topics here real quick. For example, unlike ML Exchange, where we're limited to just Internet Explorer, the consumer website will work with Firefox, Mozilla, and even Safari, which means even Mac users can get to our consumer website. Keep in mind, we're talking about the consumer here, so we want to make it the best possible. We want to get as many consumers into this website as possible. Second is the database. Now, I don't want to get all technical into this, but it's based on a database system that has redundancy built into it, as well as load balancing. And then finally, as far as the system architecture, it's based around, the mapping portion is based around Microsoft's Virtual Earth, which is actually the same mapping system that we're using for ML Exchange. However, I tend to like the one that's built in to this website a little bit better because it's larger. You actually get to see a little bit more of the screen, and that's good for the consumers, whereas we're a little bit limited because obviously we have a lot more going on in ML Exchange for the MLS. They actually have a little bit more space on that map to look around. Also with the map, unlike other real estate sites, our solution allows the consumer to see counts of all the properties in the area. You don't have to zoom down to the neighborhood or even the street level. Of course, the consumer can also enter a subdivision, zip code, city, etc., just like on the other sites, but ours is the only one that I know of that allows for map-based searching. Consumers can estimate the property values because we're providing sold data. Just because we're providing the sold data, that's actually not a bad thing. It's actually more accurate. It has more up-to-date information. It provides it for all of us. And by the way, those third-party websites actually do offer sold data. So what we're trying to do here is compete with one big variation for this website. We actually push the consumer to contact a real estate agent, a realtor, to get more information. Just to go over a few things that the consumers appreciate about our consumer website, it's easy to use. The listings are very comprehensive. The information is there. The data is accurate and fresh. They get to talk directly to an agent when they're ready. There's no pressure if they're not ready. There's no, quote, featured homes that are pointing people towards it. Some agent paid for that to be advertised on there. And in that note, there's no advertisements. What they get is just the facts. With offering something like this to the consumers, there are some realtor concerns. Why do you have a website? It's just going to steer people away from mine. Why are you providing sold data? I can't get sold data off my website. You're going to take away potential leads by offering a listing agent contact info. This public site is going to take away my competitive advantage. These are things we're going to deal with. So let's talk about that competitive advantage. Just who is it that is very successfully altering the perception of the consumers? The world of residential real estate is changing. Many companies now offer valuable real estate information content directly to the consumer. You can see on your screen, this is some of the competition. NAR believes these companies are the lions coming over the hill. They are worried that the importance of the realtor is somehow being diminished. We're going to take care of that. So do these third-party sites serve the consumers? There's pressure to syndicate your listings. If not, you might be left behind, right? There's a whole bunch of money that is spent to purchase featured listings to buy a zip code or buy preferred placement. It's also difficult to maintain the accuracy of the data from third-party vendors, and I'm going to talk about why in just a minute. There's also pressure from these third-party sites to just go ahead and provide them with the entire data feed. Well, what if that were to happen? Along with those points, the other sites want to sell you those leads back. They sell competing services on their sites. These sites try to steer visitors to the people who pay them instead of providing the information in an unbiased manner. I think we can all understand where that could be a problem. That's why we're trying to provide and put the realtor back in the center of all this. We have a consulting company that conducted a study in 3 other large markets just to kind of give us a picture of what's going on. These are the percentages of web traffic that was real estate related over the course of a month. Look at how Yahoo got 17% of it, realtor.com 11%, homes.com 10%, Trulia 9%, and so on, for a total of 68% of the web traffic. Wow, these are those third-party websites. Now let's go to Chicago. 17% going to Yahoo, 15% realtor.com. There are 11 different sites here that all add up to 84% of the web traffic. That's something we need to recapture. Now let's look at something a little bit different. Houston, which has their own highly successful consumer site, har.com. In Houston, har.com receives 57%. Wow. Yahoo received 12%. Realtor.com receives 7%, for a total of 76% of the real estate traffic going to these three sites. The major difference is looking at har.com, getting 57% of the real estate traffic. That's what we want to do. That's the direction we're heading. I think it's pretty clearly apparent that the value of the consumer website and what it brings to the area with regards to web traffic for the real estate market and putting the realtor back into the center of the transaction. Let's talk about the leads that are generated from a public consumer website such as Houston's. har.com generated 566,000 leads to Houston realtors in 2007. If you wanted to put a comparable value of between $1 and $10 per lead, that's anywhere from 566,000 to 5.6 million in value. That being almost 22 leads per member, and that is what we are aiming for with our website. Our website also has a way of reporting back to us. For example, here you can see a report that tells us that there were almost 2 million hits from this view in the last 24 hours. That's pretty amazing. We also have the ability to create custom links. In other words, the agent's own contact information is displayed. So not only do we have the consumer website address, but you'll have your own address directly to your portion of the consumer site. You can use it in your email signature. It's a great-looking IDX-like solution. By linking to it, this helps us climb in the search rankings. And leads are automatically entered as clients in ML Exchange if somebody comes in to the consumer website into your account. Why would you want to pay more if you were going to get less? Now let's take a look at the consumer website benefits. I talked about how the data is accurate and comprehensive, that it's updated every 15 minutes, not 1 to 2 days later. This website ensures the realtor expertise because no third-party website is better prepared to provide detailed and accurate information about a property. The consumer website will save realtors their marketing dollars, which in this market, anything can help. There is no need to purchase packages for listing enhancements. Realtor.com just started offering 4 picks before you would have to pay. Wow. With this site, you get up to 10 slots available in the MLS. Also, there are no featured properties. You don't have to worry about your listings being placed below someone else's who has paid a ton of money to have their listings positioned above yours. When you click on Find an Agent, that person won't be pulled from a list of yellow pages. What this website does is reposition the realtor as the source for real estate information. The leaders from the website can be sent directly to the agent when the lead is submitted. Not only does it send the agent an email, but it also enters the consumer into the client manager of ML Exchange, which I think is a neat feature. I love the fact that it goes directly into my database and then I can follow up on it. The site is provided to the members at no cost, and it gives today's internet-empowered consumer the information they demand and will get either from us or a third party. Which would you prefer? So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put us into a live demonstration of the consumer website. As you can see on your screen, the website address is myfloridahomesmls.com. From the home screen, it's a very attractive website. They can type in an address of a property, which I'll demonstrate some of the different things that will happen here in just a few moments. They can click on any of the graphics here to look up properties in several divisions. Now, those items I recommend, even though I'm going to walk you through several areas of this website, I do recommend that you go ahead and play around with the website yourself because you will get the most out of the website, of course, by touching it and feeling it for yourself. Up at the top, you can see there are tabs. Property search. Put your consumer hat on for a moment and think about what we have here. Property search. Value your home. Find an agent. If they don't already have one, if you haven't sent them there from your link. My favorites and a school locator. Let's go ahead and see what happens if we use the map. You can see here, I can click on a general area, which will then zoom in on that area of the map. You can see in the bubbles that it actually gives us properties in certain areas. As I zoom in, watch what happens over the left-hand side. Your search results and statistics based on square footage, bedroom, bath, lots, year built. As I zoom in, there will be less properties and it will be closer to the area. And you can see as I zoom in, the numbers change. If I don't see something that I'm looking for, I can zoom back out. I can also grab the map, pan, and place a different area in my map. If I wanted to value a home, I'm going to click on the Value a Home tab. And I'll go ahead and type in an address over here on the left. I want to give the screen a minute to update for us. And let's go ahead and try this one. 7603 Pine Hollow, Orlando. All right, now, of course, everything that you'll see here are estimates. So I can put in some information about that property. You can see here all I did was put in the address. But the more detailed I fill it out, the more it will cycle down the information that is embedded in my market statistics. I can also use a little trick. I want to go ahead and show you this. The items that are on my map are what's being used for the numbers over here on market statistics. If I zoom in on a specific area, for example, if I know that one side of the street is more compatible and comparable to what I'm looking for, I can switch my map over a little bit. It will only utilize the properties with the criteria that I put over on the left that are also showing on the map. So this actually uses the map as part of its criteria for pulling in the numbers for the statistics. Now, I also want to point out that if I want to go ahead and zoom in, you can see here, if I click on one of these bubbles, or I put my mouse over one of these bubbles, excuse me, it tells me there are 2 properties for sale in this short area here. If I go ahead and click on that, I will zoom in a little bit closer. You can see I can actually pick out. Now, the red items are sold. The blue items are active for sale. So as I get closer, you can see here that I can pull up information about a particular property. If I go ahead and want to click on that property, it then gives me information. Anytime I zoom in close enough, each of the properties has detailed information about it. The property statistics, here's an MLS number, tax ID, list price, where it's located, all of the property features, its place on the map, and then at the bottom of the property detail, I can ask for certain things or use certain tools. There's a market analysis I can request for this property. You can use a financial calculator, get driving directions, send it to a friend. It's also giving me here at the bottom some of the comparable properties that I might be interested in viewing. At the top, you can see I can print this out, schedule a showing, send it to a friend. Now, I do recommend you go in and play around with the property search and the value of your property. We'll come over here and we're going to click on Find an Agent just so you can see how each of these items work. If they're trying to look up an agent, you can see I can look an agent up by their name, or I get a random list. So there's a possibility that you could get a lead simply by the random list that's over on the left. If I do have an agent in mind, I can type their name into the list, choose that agent from the list. From there, if your information was brought up, you can see they can see a picture of you to make sure that they found the right person. Your contact information is here, access to your email address. From here, they can go to your agent webpage, which is what you built in ML Exchange. They could also, and this is a great feature here, if they look you up, if you're their agent, even though you didn't give them your private link, which I'll show you how to get that here in just a moment, they have the option of clicking the My Agent button, which will actually save a cookie on their computer, which causes the website, mfrmls.mfrmls.com, to always pull you in as their agent, which means whenever they request more information about a property, your information will be brought up. Once they choose their favorite agent, that information comes up on their computer whenever they step into the myfloridahomesmls.com website. They have some other tools here before I go to sign in and show you where your own private link is. I think that's going to be one of the most important things that I can show you today. But they do have My Favorites, where they can take a look at any favorite properties that they may have saved into the system. They have two different options. Now, I don't have any saved here, I don't think. Possibly I do. No, I don't have any saved right this moment. However, I have an option of saving it as a cookie, or I could enter in my information with my email address, which would keep it so that I can come back later and retrieve that using a login and get exactly what I was saving as my favorite the last time I was here. And there's a school locator over on the left. I can click on Orange County, for example, and that way you'll be brought to the school website. Depending on which area you look up, you can actually flow through the school locator and get the information about each of those schools. Now, what I want to make sure that I get to, because I don't want to skip it, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the home page, and I'm going to log in. Now, whenever I say log in, this is a members-only area that you have access to that the consumer does not. So before I take us anywhere else, I'm going to go ahead and go to the bottom of the screen to the members-only link. From the members-only link, I now have a members-only area, but I have to log in first. So I'm going to type in an ID, the password, log in. And if you are interested in giving out, for example, either putting on another web page or placing on your business card, your letterheads, any place where you might do any advertising, this is the custom link. Now, this one happens to be Marty's, of course. All you have to do is simply copy the address from here, place it in other documents, on your business card, in another website. That will take consumers directly to your version of My Florida Homes MLS, which means when a property comes up, you will be the primary agent listed to contact for any of those properties. Now, that's a good way to steer them back towards you. So you can actually use the power of us putting so much time and effort into this website by giving them your custom link for the website. You also have information at the bottom here where it tells us how many consumers have chosen us as their agent, as their favorite agent. I can click on MLS Activity Report, and here you can see how many hits that we're receiving by quarter, by month, by week, within 24 hours, and so on. And we also judge this by maybe how much advertising we need to do. Maybe we need to put a little bit more in. Maybe we need to adjust some things. This allows us to keep an eye on the activity. You can also click on Agent Activity, which is more specific to you, and you can see how many of your properties are getting hits. For example, how many leads have you got off a certain property? How many times was the detail view looked at for your property? How many times was each property marked as a favorite by one of your customers within the last 30 days, or total overall. So this gives you a lot of tools at your disposal.